Hopefully everything will work out perfectly fine. Yes, it says live, so. And now everyone should be pulling in because they've been waiting for this mystery show that I have told everyone about at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They should start arriving pretty soon.
Okay.
So what I'll do is, I guess, go ahead and talk about the book.
Okay.
I think it's very interesting. So I think that's one. I remember her telling me, the name of the book and what it was about and stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, I really would like to talk to him about that. So because it sounds very interesting. So, John, tell us about your book.
Okay, so it's the book itself is a collection of 21 different essays. It's called Letters to My Former Self. And it's a collection of 21 different letters in the form of an essay, from the premise of if you could, if there was a sort of rip in the time-space continuum and you could speak to yourself at the age of 80, or more likely if the person at the age of 80 could speak to you as you are now, what would they say to you? And so these essays cover love, companionship, mistakes and regret, lots of different emotions and feelings that people have, and sometimes struggle to deal with. And it's sort of very wise and very fatherly, and it's a little bit The Alchemist. It's a little bit The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. It's got a lot of that kind of pseudo spirituality in it as well. So yeah.
So what made you write something like this? How did the idea come up?
It came out of it. I did it wasn't even a creative writing course. I did an artistic course. A lot of actors were doing it. It was very seminal at the time. I won't say the name of it, but it was a book in the sort of 1990s and early 2000s that everyone was doing, and people were saying, "Have you done this book?" And I hadn't done it. And so I got hold of it. And one of the exercises in that book was to write a letter to yourself from the age of 80. And there was another one in there asking you to write, I think, a letter to yourself from the age of 6 or something. I didn't get on so well with that one, but I did with the letter from the old man to the younger man. And I wrote it, and I found it quite cathartic, a lot more cathartic than I thought I would. And I sat with it for about a year. And then I thought, in 2009, I'm going to write, there's something more in this. And so I wrote a book, and I was busy working as an actor, and so every kind of spare moment I had, I was in coffee shops around London where I lived at the time. I lived in London for 15 years. And I was sort of around the coffee shops of Soho writing this book. And I attracted some literary agency attention to it quite quickly. And at one point we were working towards the idea of pitching and publication, and I stopped. And I kept it, I pulled away from everything, and I kept it in a drawer, a virtual drawer. I kept it on a memory stick for 10 years. And then lockdown happened, and I thought, I'm not doing anything else. And it seemed quite pertinent. There's a lot of uncertainty out there at the moment, and so I pulled it out of a drawer, and I sort of started working on it, and pulled in some friends and colleagues into sort of work on it with me, which we're doing at the moment, and it should be released in the next couple of months. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people are not doing stuff, and they're picking up stuff that they either have forgotten about or something new.
Absolutely.
So yeah, wow. And to finish it. So, and that was during filming, you said?
I was working through a lot of the writing and putting together of that book. That was over 10 years, 11 years ago. And I was kind of, as a jobbing actor, as you do, it can be very unpredictable in what we do in this industry. I mean, you can be working on something one day, and then you get a phone call and you need to be somewhere else the next. So it can be that uncertain. But the good thing about that kind of work is that, I remember sitting in a dressing room, working on it in the dressing room between between shows, actually. So so it's kind of, writing works quite well with being an actor. It's the two dovetail quite reasonably well. So yeah.
Okay. Wow. I don't know if I would be able to do that, but yeah, to juggle so much. Yeah. So, and then you have this book. You also have 20 years of, film and TV. So
And it was very hard. It's very hard to believe. I know that.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. 20 years. 20 years this year, actually. I graduated from drama school in 2000. So yeah, 20 years.
What made you turn to acting?
What made me turn to? I was going to be an opera singer.
Okay.
And I was studying, and everything was sort of going towards that. And I was in and around what is now the Royal, I must get this right, it's now the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, but it wasn't then. It was called the RSAMD. It was the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. It's a lot longer name.
Cool.
And so I was in there working with a very famous singing teacher with a view of studying opera. And at the last minute, I kind of decided that I didn't want to be an opera singer, and that I wanted to be an actor who sings rather than a singer who acts. And so I went to drama school and became an actor instead. So you
Wow.
know that. But it meant that I had the skill, the vocal skill, to be able to work in the West End and Phantom of the Opera and various other shows that I did. That I was able to use my voice to earn a living.
Oh, that's right, because it also does mention in the email that theater as well.
Oh yeah. Lots of theatre, from Shakespeare and Chekhov to sort of new writing, and most actors will say, British actors anyway. I'm not quite so sure that this is always true in America, but British actors will say that the TV and film, it's great, and that's what you do to get a name and to make money.
Yeah.
But the real love is the theatre,
Right?
and because that's how we are taught in this country. Theatre is the art form, and not that TV and film isn't an art form, but theatre is where your heart lies.
Absolutely. So, would there be any films that I would know that you were in?
Oh, would there be any films that you would know that I was in? I mean, lots of independent films, lots of TV work. I mean, I don't know what you get over there in America that we get, but I've finished. I'm not sure how much I can say about this. I filmed a Netflix movie that will be released in November of this year, in January. So that wrapped in January, and that's called the. I think I'm allowed to say what it is. It's called the Princess Switched Again. So it's a sequel to The Princess Switched. But I wasn't in that, but I'm in the sequel.
The Princess Switched. Why does that sound familiar to me? I'm gonna have to look that up. For some reason, I think I have probably seen it. So yeah. Okay. So
well, I'm not in that. So
right. No, but you're in the next one. Okay. Awesome. So so you're still acting and
oh yeah, I was in, like a lot of people, I was in negotiations for various things when this happened, and things, everything stopped, like it did for everyone. The whole industry ground to a halt, quite literally. So so a lot of things are in ambience, and when something like this happens, you particularly in an industry where so much of it depends on funding and producers finding money for things, and it can be like Jenga, and you take one piece out and it can fall apart. So that's always the worry, but that's true where it's always kind of been true in my industry. All of a sudden, that's true in everyone's industry, and so it's a very uncertain time for everyone, and it's doubly true in what was already an uncertain industry,
Yeah, because they're not doing any filming or any sort of stuff, where you are at the moment, right? Because of the whole restrictions.
Yeah, starting to. I know that the big soaps are starting to look at tentatively taking, production back on track. I think from July, but that will be a very slow process, and it's being very carefully managed. And but as far as normal work resuming is concerned in the film and television industry, God knows when that will be. And as for the theatre industry,
Yeah.
you know, it's, I saw a picture the other day of the theatre that houses the Berliner Philharmoniker, and the auditorium looked like a toothless smile. They'd taken out 75% of the seats to allow for social distancing. That's very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. It's surreal. So
Yeah.
like, you don't want it to be, but this is what's happening. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, normal is gone. I've come to grips with that. So I'm just glad that you found something to do during this and to finish that book. But if you didn't have the book, you'd probably be going stir crazy because
well, actually, I have actually been doing some filming during lockdown. There's a project that I've been involved in that has found a way to manage some of its filming on a personal basis from home. Not that footage will necessarily be used, but it will allow the producers to see how the scenes would go ahead, and then they'll be refilmed afterwards. So that's been a challenge.
Yeah, I bet. I have not heard of that, but I see the point of it. Okay, well, at least you're not going.
It's almost like a moving storyboard, so you can see how it will look, and then once this is hopefully over, then the producers can come and they can refilm it. But it's I've been filming with people in London, and that is tough. It requires a real ingenuity when it comes to how you set these things up. I've learned a lot. Learned an awful lot.
Wow. Yeah. The things they come up with. So, yeah. So, is there a play that you have not been in that you're waiting to get into? The one play.
Have you only got half an hour? How long have you got?
Oh.
I think if I was to choose one, it would be, I've never played Richard II, and I've always wanted to play Richard II, and it's never happened. I've done lots of Shakespeare, but I've never done Richard II. So, if anyone's watching,
is Shakespeare your go-to? Like, that's what you prefer, or would you do anything on stage? Any type of like?
Well, I've done a lot of new writing as well in my time. I'm lucky enough. I've had work written for me, which is that's always a great privilege. When someone whom you respect and admire calls you up and says, "Look, I've written a piece and I've written it with you in mind." That's kind of the ultimate compliment for an actor, and that's happened several times. Yeah. And you get to be involved in the creative process of that in the rehearsal room as well. So you're creating a character. But in terms of Shakespeare being the go-to, I'm not sure that it's my go-to. But when I think about the theatre, and I think about the smell of the grease paint in the row of the crowd and all that kind of stuff, I think about Shakespeare. I think if I was to be anywhere right now, if my acting fairy godmother came down and said, "Where would you like to be?" I'd like to be in a company of fantastic actors doing a fantastic Shakespeare somewhere. Or a Chekhov. Or a nice Chekhov.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So, do you enjoy living in? Because now that there's a ton of people, and I'm getting questions off to the side as well here on my phone. So, what is she saying? Do you enjoy living in Scotland? Because now that you're not in London.
So I was in London for 15 years. And London's I think there's a part of me will always be a Londoner. The great thing about London is you don't have to be from London to be a Londoner. It's one of those real international cities, and it's one of those places that, yes, sure, there are people that are born there, but you get to choose London as your home as well. And so I think there's a part of me will always be a Londoner, but there's such a great quality of life in Scotland. Your money goes further. The people are fantastic. You're surrounded by history and beautiful countryside. And we were talking before we went live, and I said you have to contend with the weather, and that is the reality in Scotland. We don't. Sometimes it feels like a one-season country, and that season is winter. But when you're living here and enjoying all the benefits that come from living in Scotland, and also it's not so important. When I graduated, it was quite important. Eventually, if you were serious about being an actor, you made the move to London or LA or New York. Those were the three places you went to. Sometimes people would do multiples of those places. They'd go to London first usually, and then they would either go to pilot season in LA, or they would try and get a job if they could get a sponsor or something on Broadway. But now it's possible to have a career and not live in London, because everything has become so digitized. I don't even need to travel to London now for meetings with directors or casting directors. I can do it like this.
Yeah.
So the whole industry is changing, and it means that you now have the luxury of living where you want to live rather than where you feel you have to live. So, but I think everyone should live in London at some point, and I think everyone should live in Scotland at some point as well. So it's a great country, great quality of life.
It is. Like I told you, I've always wanted to go there. So at some point,
I'll show you around.
So, yeah. Well, I might have to take you up on that. So when they ease restrictions and stuff, so I'm looking for a lot of places to go. I'd like to travel. So yeah, that's definitely the spot to go. So besides London, I'd like to go to London as well.
Oh, it's a great city as well. Yeah.
I wouldn't
But
mind.
Scotland, I think, over the last year or so, various different polls have. I think was it the Lonely Planet guide that named Scotland as the most beautiful country in the world, and there's been a couple of other polls that have named Glasgow as one of the best places in Britain to live as well. So, and it didn't always have that moniker. Glasgow was, we used to call it no mean city, so it has it's changed a lot over the years for the better.
Yeah. I believe I'm pretty sure I've seen a lot of articles talking about, how beautiful it is, and what a great place to live. I wouldn't mind living there.
Yeah. There was a television series that I was almost in it actually years ago called Taggart, which is, I think it's the most syndicated, there's some moniker that it has. I think it's shown in the most countries of any other British television series ever. And it's set in Glasgow in the 1980s, and it's pretty rough. And it's a detective drama. And people tend to think of Glasgow as being like what it was. And it was like that when Taggart was filmed. But it isn't anymore. It's very much a cosmopolitan city now.
I know I don't know if it's Scotland. I think it's Ireland. There's a show I watch. Unfortunately, I don't get what's it called? BritBox or something, where you can watch English shows. You can stream them or something. I don't have that. I've been thinking about it, but on YouTube I watch, I think it's Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
So he's from Ireland, right? Okay. I just remember watching one of his live shows, and he taped it from Glasgow. So I remember watching that.
We've got very similar humor because, and I'm Irish on both sides, and lots of I mean, the Scottish in there as well, but lots of the central belt of Scotland have Irish ancestry because there was a big sort of influx of Irish immigrants in the late 19th century, a bit like there was to America as well. And so a lot of the humour is the same. And unfortunately, when I was young, a lot of the sectarian religious stuff was the same as well. So, and that's dying down a bit now, thankfully. But yeah, we're all Celtic. We're all Celtic. We've got all the same jokes. We've got Scottish mammies just like that Irish mammy that he plays. So it's very familiar.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if he was from Scotland or if it was the other way around. So I think it's the other way around.
He's Irish. He is. He's Irish.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. So TV side, what have you done in TV?
God, loads over the years. And I don't know what you guys get, so I don't know what you'll know.
Probably nothing, but.
I used to be in a very successful television series called Still Game for the BBC. An even more successful, or equally successful, I should say, series, it's certainly longer running, called Silent Witness, which I'd be very surprised if that wasn't on your British box set thing, because it's, I mean, I think I did, and this is a few years ago now, I think I did series 16. So it's been going for a long time, since the 1990s. And that's a detective drama. I did Doctors, that's a soap. I did River City, that's a soap. There's been loads over the years of sort of telework. But like I say, I don't know what translates over there and what sort of doesn't. But none of it American, sadly. Other than the Netflix thing, that's an American producer.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll be looking out for that. So, no, I have never heard of any of those TV shows. I mean, it's a good learning experience because
I'm massive in Glasgow.
Yeah. Well, it'll give me something to watch or something.
Sure. Oh, they're good shows. They're good shows if you can get them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have nothing
Still
against.
Game. Still Game is a comedy series. It was a BAFTA-winning comedy series, actually, and that's set in Glasgow. So if you like Glasgow and you like particularly Scottish comedy, then tune into that if you can get hold of it.
Okay. All right. I know a lot of you people are watching, so I'm just wondering if anyone has any other questions. I don't see anything coming up. I have half my family watching, so they usually watch the usual suspects here. I'm pretty sure we'll be getting questions fairly soon. So, is there a typical character that you enjoyed playing the most on TV?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a bit of a Disney villain's face, I think, and so I play a lot of baddies, and I love it. Baddies are great. Yeah, baddies are fantastic. I did. We have a thing in this country called pantomime. I don't think you have it in America, do you?
I don't think so. What exactly is that?
It's a real tradition in this country, and it happens at Christmas time. And they're big shows, they're big production shows. And I think there's only about 7 or 8 different stories that are sort of rehashed around the country every year. But it's a real institution in Britain. And they often require these sort of camp Disney baddies. And I seem to do quite a good number in those. So, yeah. But playing it's by far and away the best part to play. The most fun part.
The villain?
The villain.
Really?
Especially if you've got the villain's laugh. Yeah.
If it works, hey.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, so a lot of people don't say that. The villain.
It's the best.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Any actor who plays a baddie will tell you it's, you can either play the juvenile lead, which is like drinking water. It's really insipid. Or there are various different roles that you can play, archetypes if you like, and most actors who have played a baddie will tell you that by far and away the villain is the most fun part to play.
I'm pretty sure it is now that I think about it. Yeah.
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 And most people that play villains are the loveliest people you'll ever meet. But you either look like a villain or you don't, and I seem to look like one because I'm often cast as a villain.
So what was the best villain?
In Shakespeare, Oliver in As You Like It, and in pantomime, which is where your real Disney villains are, Captain Hook. I played Captain Hook a few years ago in Peter Pan.
Captain Hook, huh? Yeah, I can see
with wig and the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
Camp villains, camp English villains.
Yeah. Interesting. Like I said, if it works, I'd go with it. Yeah, sure. So I'd probably want to play a villain at some point. I'm pretty sure I could be good at that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Let's see. So another question has popped up. Any chance that you will do more writing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there is this book will be released in the next month to 2 months on Amazon.
Okay.
So it'll be available to buy on Amazon from probably about the beginning of August. Letters to My Former Self has an Instagram page if anyone is interested in following it, and that will have a release date when it's confirmed on there. But there's another 2 volumes of it that are ready to go into writing. So there will be at least another 2 volumes coming of it as well.
Okay.
So yeah. And I have an idea for a book. I'd quite like to write a book for. This is quite niche, and that this may not interest anyone that's watching this, but I'd quite like to write a book that tells young actors all the things they don't tell you in drama school, like how to do your tax returns. You know, nobody teaches you that.
Is tax return such a issue?
Well,
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Well, I mean, I think we may have a different system in Britain, but
Yeah.
I think, you know, when young actors come out and they're sort of encouraged to be, and I only use that as an example, but when they're encouraged to become sort of self-employed, and they get a bit of work and they kind of think that life is great, and then all of a sudden they have a tax bill to pay and they haven't put anything away for it. And I've seen that lots over the years. And drama school doesn't teach you that. It doesn't teach you what to do between acting jobs, you know, what jobs work, what jobs don't work when being an actor. Because you're not going to work 100% of the time. You know, even the most famous actors are not working 52 weeks of the year. It just so happens that they have several million in the bank to sort of cover that, but most actors don't. And so they take on, I don't know, call center jobs, or they take on working in a restaurant or whatever. That's the typical job that people think of. But you know, they've got to sort of keep themselves when they're not working. And it's a business. They need to run a business. So and it doesn't teach you any of that. It teaches you how to read Shakespeare and find your light and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't teach you how to find an agent or anything like that. So that's the kind of book I'd like to write, that kind of points young actors in a practical direction.
So there's no books already out there, or there's no how-to manual. There's no. So I mean, you would be the first to kind of.
No, I'm sure I wouldn't be. There are books out there which are Bibles of David Mamet's True and False is one of them, which I read when I came out of drama school. But I think there's always room for another perspective, particularly if it's a perspective that someone has lived and you're kind of going down that same path, and someone's a bit further along it. I guess it comes from the same place as the letters do. You know, there's advice in there. What's the point in learning all this stuff if you can't tell it to anyone else? You know,
right? Absolutely. Let's see, Heather. Did I miss what his next project is?
No, you didn't. There isn't. We don't. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. The whole acting industry is in cryogenic lockdown. I mean,
yeah.
If you know, tell me, because I don't.
Yeah. Well, except for the Netflix movie that's going to be coming out.
That's already filmed. Yeah, that'll come out in November time. But in terms of the next project that comes along,
that's Yep. Because I believe
soon, I hope.
Yeah, it's the same. I believe it's the same down in California as well. I mean, Hollywood is just
absolutely.
It's terrible. Yeah. I'm getting theater ? I'm not sure if that's an answer or a question, or obviously once they open the theaters back up, would you be comfortable enough to go if asked to perform after, you know, we talked and like all those seats have been removed, so now it's like a smaller audience now. So now
I think it's yeah, I think I would. I think it's going to be a sad experience as well, though, because it's always a joy to be on stage, but to look out into an auditorium that has 25% of the people in it that it should, that's it's kind of sad. Um, I, I don't know what's going to happen. I know that my industry will survive, and I'm speaking to casting directors who are already talking about how to circumnavigate the impositions which are quite rightly in place. But we're learning. I think we're all learning a new normal. But at the end of the day, theatre is important, film is important, TV is important. It's all important, but none of it's more important than human life.
Right. Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Safety first.
Yeah. It just stinks in the meantime.
Yeah, you become more industrious and sort of enterprising when this kind of stuff happens. Necessity is the mother of invention, they say, and I think it's true. I mean, I don't know if I would ever have picked this book up again if this hadn't happened, because I didn't have time. I was here, there, and everywhere. I was often not in Scotland. At one point I was joking about my holiday home that I had in Scotland, because I was never here. And all of a sudden, here I am all the time, and it's given me an opportunity to look at picking up the book again and having conversations like this, and so that you find a new way of being industrious, or I have found a new way of being. I hope that's true for other people as well.
Yeah.
But I think there's maybe only so much of that you can do. I think eventually everyone will run out of ideas, and we do need normality to eventually start happening again.
Yeah. So during this pandemic and staying home like everyone else, have you found yourself doing anything that you normally wouldn't do? Were you watching TV? Were you binge watching someone like everyone else? Or
I got to the point. I stopped doing that. I got to the point I was sitting up till 6 a.m. watching American Horror Story. I was one of the few people who never got into it when it was a thing. It still is a thing, but when everyone was watching it, and I got quite a serious American Horror Story problem that I had to deal with because I was sitting up all night watching it, and loved it, and have fallen in love with Jessica Lange. I just think she's the best thing since sliced bread, and. But I've kind of stopped myself from doing that and being much more regimented now. That was in the really early days when life had stopped and there was no sense of time anymore. It didn't matter if you were up to 6 a.m. and in bed till 3 p.m. because there's no parameters. But that gets old quite quickly, and so I'm much more sort of organised. And I'll tell you what I don't do anymore. I don't listen to the radio, and I've kind of come off Facebook, and I'm trying not to watch the news too much. I keep up to date with the important stuff, like the phases of lockdown release. But for the first couple of weeks, I was making my morning eggs to the daily death toll, and that's not healthy. So I stopped doing that fairly quickly.
There you go. Yeah. American Horror Story. I've never watched any of it.
Really?
Yeah. Nope.
I can absolutely recommend it. It's fantastic.
I love Jessica Lange. I'll watch anything that she's in. Yeah. I might have to. I do have a sister. I'm pretty sure she's on here somewhere. That has watched every single series, and she always asks, "Have you watched it? Have you watched it?" I'm like, "No, I'm not really into that." So
I used to say that because I used to think I don't know what it is, and it sounds creepy, and it sounds it's really, 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 really high quality TV.
Well, when you put it that way, I will definitely have to start watching it now.
So. But I spent the whole time being really entertained, but also being really jealous that I wasn't in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you would want to be in American Horror Story if you could?
Is anyone watching from American Horror Story? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Okay. But I think Jessica Lange has left it now. This is the tragedy. I think I would maybe need to make it a stipulation of my contract that she can buy.
So besides Jessica Lange, is there anyone else that you would want to work with on the American side as far as an actor or actress, I should say?
Actor or actress from the Americans? Oh, there's loads that I would want to work with. Directors and actors and
Yeah.
actresses. God, narrowing them down to one, that's really tough. Or one or two even, that's really, really hard, because I think there are, I don't know if it's that it's easier to become quote unquote famous now than it used to be.
Yeah.
But there just seems to be when I was much younger, it was, you had Brad Pitt, you had Tom Cruise, and there were certain icons of a generation. But nowadays, and I think this is probably a good thing, nowadays there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of fantastic younger actors and actresses who are in their 20s and early 30s. I think more content's being made now. We have Netflix, we have streaming services that, we don't just have to rely on certain TV channels and going to the cinema anymore. So it's opened up doors for young actors. And so I see actors and actresses all the time on places like Netflix and Amazon Prime. And I just, the quality of the talent out there is phenomenal. So there's just loads of them. And being with good actors makes you a better actor.
I would hope so.
It makes you up your game. Yeah.
I would hope so. Yeah, absolutely. Other questions? Oh no, a statement. I would want to work with Johnny Depp. Okay, well, I think everybody would.
Well, I would like to work with Johnny Depp as well.
Yeah,
so,
everybody.
Yeah.
So, well, one last question from me. I ask everyone. So, any regrets?
God, that's deep, isn't it? Any regret? I'd like to say je ne regrette rien, but that's I don't think that's really ever true for anyone. Do I have any regrets? I do have a regret, actually. I kind of wish, and it's purely for I had an academic route when I was going to study performance, because it was opera and then it was acting. But I also was going to study academically history and archaeology. I was going to be an archaeologist, and that was I had sort of two options, and I went for the arts route rather than the academic route. And there's a part of me really, really wishing. I live very close now to the university I was going to go to, which is like Hogwarts. If you Google Glasgow University, you'll see that it really does look like Hogwarts. And I kind of wish I'd done it. It would only have been 3 years out of my life, and I would have been an archaeologist. How cool is that? But I didn't. So, and I think I'm a bit old now to be running around in muddy trenches in Scotland in February. So I don't know that will happen. But yeah, that's a bit of a regret.
You are full of surprises, because I would have never have guessed an archaeologist. That surprises me. It really does.
And how cool would it have been to have been able to say I'm an actor stroke archaeologist?
Yeah.
But I can't, because I didn't do it. So, hey-ho.
Would you do it for TV, like the next Josh Gates or something like that? I love that show.
That I would really, 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 really love. It's not an acting gig. It would be more of a presenting gig.
Yeah.
But I would really love to present a kind of. I think he is known in America. We have a very famous, quite controversial historian in this country called David Starkey. And I think he is known in America, actually. He certainly has a home in America. And he produces these big budget documentaries on monarchies. It was his big success.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're very dramatic, they're lavish, and they have sort of reconstructions in them. And he gets to walk around places like Hampton Court Palace, saying the words of Henry VIII and talking about the politics of the time. I'd love to do something like that. That'd be really enjoyable. That wouldn't be like work. That would be fun.
I can see you doing something like that. Yeah. Absolutely.
I hope other people can as well.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. And to have it televised, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will watch that. So.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
So it's not happened yet. So
well,
who knows? Yeah. The world is changing in such extraordinary ways that it might happen.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Absolutely. So, if I could do that, I would want to do that. That's what I would want to do.
How cool is it? How cool is that? And you've got to have a good director and a good cameraman to get those angles right as well. It can be very dramatic and great fun. Great fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now they want to ask questions. Let's see. Any role that he has passed on that he wishes now he took? Oh, are there any roles that you passed on that now you wished you took the role?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh God, this is a sore point. This is a real sore point. I'm not going to mention any names, and I'm not going to mention the name of the movie. In 2007, I was involved with a movie that never got made, and I didn't know that at the time. And it's a very precarious. Movies are the most precarious of all, funding-wise, are the most precarious of all of the performing arts industries. And I was involved with a movie, and I was booked to go to the Cannes Film Festival with it, and to try and drum up the rest of the money that was needed to finish the film. And I was 27, and I was living in London, and I got a phone call about 4 days before I was due to go to, maybe 5, before I was due to go to France with this production. And it was an agent of mine that I'd had. I wasn't with that agent anymore, but the call had come through to them, and they had taken it and passed it on to me. And a very, 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 very famous casting director, whom I had met before, had done what's called an availability check. An availability check is something that's done on you to make sure that you are actually free to do the project.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a commitment. And a 6-month availability check had been done on me, which more or less is the whole movie. And they said, would John consider coming to meet with me, not for an audition, but for a chat about this role? I was 27, it's a major movie. And I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. When? And they said, next Tuesday or whatever it was, they said. And I said, I'm in France. I'm at the Cannes Film Festival with another project. And my old agent said, can you not be there? Can you go to this instead? And I said, I don't know. I said, can you give me over? Can I sleep on it? She said, okay, get back to me in the morning. And so I slept on it, and I wrote this casting director a letter. I was much younger, more naive, trying to do the right thing. And I wrote this casting director a letter saying, I will meet you anywhere. And I really meant anywhere in the world. If that person had said, meet me in Tokyo, I would have found the money, and I would have got on a plane and I would have gone. I said, I'll meet you anywhere in the world. And I said, at my own expense and at your convenience. And I said, but I'm sorry, I can't make it to that meeting. I'm going to have to honour this other commitment that I've got with this movie that I'm already involved with. And I never heard anything back. And the movie that I did go to the Cannes Film Festival, and the various things fell through with that film, and that film never got made either, so I missed out on both. And the big movie did get made, and I wasn't in it. So yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was a really hard lesson. And I would be a lot more ruthless now. I'd be a lot more businesslike now. But in those days, you try and do what you think is the right thing, and the gamble didn't pay off. So yeah. So the answer is yes to that question. Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Any other questions? Anyone? Any other questions? I've gone past my 30 minutes.
Gosh.
But that's all right.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, we started early, so technically
we did. Yes, we did. Yeah. Yes, we did. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna bring him right on because there's just no waiting. So
cool.
But yeah. Usually there's a lot more questions, but I think it's because it's in the middle of the day, and normally I'm not sitting here in the middle of the day. But I'm glad I am. This has been really interesting. So you can learn a lot from people. So, and it's a international call to say the least.
Is, yeah.
So, yeah. So right now,
Scotland.
It is 8:45.
It is, yeah. 8:45.
Okay, yeah. All right. Which is better than 1:15 in the morning. Because had I gone over today at 1:15 in the morning, it would feel really bad.
Nice.
So, are you normally doing stuff at 1:15 in the morning? Is that
No,
why?
I'm not an early bedder. I never have been. Actors are not early bedders, particularly theatre actors, because you finish a show at 10 o'clock at night and you're sort of buzzing.
Yeah.
And you come home and you eat late, and it's in terms of your, is it circadian rhythms? What are those rhythms called? You know the ones I mean, the daylight and the morning, and in terms of the body rhythms, it's not necessarily a very healthy occupation because it keeps you up funny hours. But as a result, we're all night owls, really. So
yeah, I find myself to be the same way. So.
I'm far more creative and I sort of come alive after 9 o'clock at night, generally.
Interesting. My show is usually at 8 o'clock. I usually will get done at 9 unless I have someone that continues talking and we go past or whatever. And then I'm usually up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So
that's normal.
It's crazy.
Normal.
I'm doing other things, and so I'm a night owl. It's not very healthy because then you sleep until 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, which you normally don't do. So yeah, absolutely. So, does anybody have any other questions? I know you do. That's the only thing I don't like about this. It's time delayed.
Oh yes, yeah, sure.
So that's why I've been waiting just in case someone has a question. So there's I don't even know what the delay is, but yeah. So are you getting used to doing this face-to-face?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had all sorts of meetings and interviews and stuff kind of this way. I mean, it's much easier on your, particularly for sort of business meetings.
Well, yeah, you don't have to travel.
You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to dress below the waist if you don't want to. Nobody knows. It's so it's much easier, and I don't think things will entirely go back to the way they were before, because I think it's easier for everyone as well. If you're a director or a casting director, you too, in the way things were, had to get ready of a morning and come in and run a whole day of casting in some hotel function suite. Whereas now, everyone can conference call from the front room. It just has made, particularly for first round auditions, I think it's made everyone's life a lot easier.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if that's the way. I guess, you could do an audition right in front of people on a Zoom call, for crying out loud.
And I think that's been a real benefit that's come out of this for everyone. It will save actors a lot of time and money. There are times I've been called with hours' notice to jump on a plane and go somewhere to meet someone, and it just makes everyone's life a bit easier doing it this way. And I've spoken to a lot of casting directors about it, and I don't think that will ever go back to the way that it was, because we've had this collective experiment now, and we've seen that it works. And why would you? Why would you go back to the way that it was?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's easier for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's the reason why I kind of joined the bandwagon, because normally I don't do my shows this way. It was mainly on radio, but recorded live. But I never saw the person. So I think I kind of switched, because now I've noticed everyone's interviewing this way.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I might as well stick with it if it works.
Absolutely.
So, at first I was like, I'm pretty sure a lot of them probably won't want to be on video, but I'll give it a try. So far everyone's like, yeah, sure.
I think it's the way the world is going, and you either fall in with it or you don't, or you get left behind, So, and I know that I've spoken to a few of my older colleagues whom this kind of thing concerns, and I've always said to them, you need to get past that, because it's going that way whether you're comfortable with it or not, So don't get left behind.
Absolutely. All right. So the name of your book again is?
The name of the book is Letters to My Former Self. So, and it will be, we're looking at a release date for sort of early August.
Early August. Okay.
And it does, there is an Instagram account for it at the moment. There will be a website as well that's coming too. And yeah, so keep up to date with that. And when it is released, grab yourself a copy, and I hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely. I want to thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever want to come back on and talk about something else, or
But you know what? Actually, why, as I'm a night owl and I'm not a morning person, then maybe we can do your normal slot sometime. See if we can get a 1:15.
I'm pretty sure that it would be a lot different because I have a lot more. Which I'm not saying there's not a lot of people watching now, but good things happen at my regular because everybody knows. Oh, he's going live at 8:00, so it's so much better. So, but I did not mind at all doing this during the day because I have.
Well, thank you. It's very kind of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I will keep you to that, and we will definitely have to do this again.
Definitely. Good.
Normal time, I guess. So, all right. So that is pretty much it. So again, thank you for coming on and telling us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And definitely going to have you back on. Hopefully nobody else has any questions. If you do, just send your question, and I'm pretty sure we can just email them and we'll respond or whatever. So yeah. And
all right, Brian.
Look for that movie as well. So
yeah,
keep that in mind. So
the princess switched again.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
We'll talk to you again.
All right. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Bye now.